And what's up, Martians? So, welcome back to Martians Eating Chocolate. This is the only channel that decodes humans' chaos so you don't have to. But today, we're talking about the secret boss of the world, energy. The secret boss of climate change. Our goal is to explain how Earth stays lit without actually blowing it up. I'm gonna make a lit joke, but that's not really funny. Wait, so my producer just told me we're currently filming this using a 100% coal-powered light bulb from 1920. Really? Okay, change of plans. Today is about why we desperately need better choices. Let's go. So, Oliver, what do you think that energy is?
To make things glow.
That's certainly part of it, I would say.
Electricity, power, hydro.
Do you think that we'll need a lot of energy? And why?
Yes, because if there's no energy, it will be all dark. Energy is like strength, or it could be electric and gas.
Okay, but seriously, Eric, do we actually need this much power? When my grandma was a kid, she had like one light bulb and a radio that sounded like a cat in a blender.
Now, my toothbrush has Wi-Fi. It literally sends me an email if I don't brush long enough. Why? Is the toothpaste judging me?
It's not just the toothbrushes. Or toothbrush, I have no idea what the plural is. Think about it. 20 years ago, maybe there was like one computer for the whole family. Today, everyone has a phone, a tablet, a watch, and a laptop that needs to eat electricity every night.
It's like we've turned into digital vampires. If our phone battery hits 1%, we start panicking like the world is ending.
Exactly. 2025 is officially the thirstiest year in human history, in terms of energy, not like water. And 2026 might be the thirstier year than 2025. It keeps going. We are addicted to the grid. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear from the actual future of the planet. Hey kids, do you think we use too much energy? What's your opinion?
I think we use too much electricity now because back then we wouldn't really use electricity except for minor things like maybe some small lights or things like that. But now that we have computers, iPads, TVs, and also other decorations like inflatable balloons, lights, buildings, and also electricity needs things to run on, which makes this so if we're using electricity too much, then we'll also be using a lot of those things that are needed to power electricity. And that just makes me think that we're using electricity way too much.
I don't think that we use the internet every second of our lives.
Yeah, like we sleep with Wi-Fi pillows.
Like, I don't even know the Wi-Fi password half of the time.
Same. If my phone dies, I just survive.
We use the internet for homework, music, and maybe one video.
Okay, 2 videos, but not a million.
After that, we go outside, talk to people, and do normal human things.
Wild, right?
The internet may be helpful, but it's not our best friend.
Hey, do you think that people are using too much electricity?
Yeah, I think that people may be using too much electricity in the wrong way, or where electricity is generated from, let's say, fossil fuels, which is pretty harmful to the environment. On the other hand, the use of electricity is important in many areas of our daily lives. I think the critical issue here is the quantity of electricity that we consume, but also the way we use electricity and its source.
Now let's imagine the future. What do you think could be a new energy source in the future?
I think one of the energy alternatives for the future could be nuclear fusion energy, where energy is generated through merging atoms, much like the sun. Nuclear fusion energy would mean a massive amount of clean energy with little waste and zero carbon emissions.
The United Kingdom, UK, uses natural gas and wind power for most of its energy. This energy is used to keep homes warm and healthy to make electricity. One problem is that gas causes pollution, which is bad for the earth. Some energy comes from other countries, and this can cost a lot of money. So money can also be a problem for the UK.
Hi, this is Preston Ju and I'm 9 years old. Today, I'm trying to answer a few questions with my own answers. Number 1, Norway, Russia, and France. What do you think their main energy sources are? Russia, I think it's close to China, so probably solar, because they have more advanced technology. For Norway, it has lots of ice and water around it, so I think the energy is coming from the water. So France, I think maybe they're not that techy, and it's pretty close to Holland, so maybe windmill power. Number 2, now let's imagine the future. What do you think could be a new energy source in the future? So I guess we have water, solar, gas, and wind to generate power. So perhaps a new energy source will be from a new type of battery, but with an infinite electric source from the revolution of rotations of the Earth. And when the Earth rotates, it creates energy for us to store in the new battery.
Hi, my name is Victoria, and I think China uses wind turbines because there are a lot of people in China, and the wind turbines take up the least space, and they use the wind, which is a renewable resource. I think France also uses wind turbines because it's cleaner than fossil fuels. I think Canada uses hydroelectricity because there are a lot of rivers in Canada, and I've been to some of the dams before.
What do you think the United States, Brazil, and Pakistan mainly use as their energy sources, and why? I think the main energy sources for those countries are things along the lines of coal and oil, since I think those are like the most common resources that countries are using right now.
Yeah, so there's some answers that are correct and some that are incorrect, but just let me explain. Let's check some statistics about how each country is doing in terms of energy generation. So first is China. China is called the world's largest solar exporter and also the world's largest solar generator. Solar panels in the last year than any of the world and the rest of the world combined. China might get a bad rep, but per capita, they're actually not doing as bad as the US. And they're currently having a green energy revolution, though it's mostly solar. A post-edit note that I just want to clarify that China doesn't actually use the most solar energy. They just simply generate a lot of the solar energy, and it's a lot of it is exported to neighboring countries. Norway is interesting because they're mostly hydro because they have a lot of rain and a lot of mountains. They literally let gravity do most of the work for them. Now, here's the thing. The UK, the Industrial Revolution's heartland, originally the first country to use coal energy, but now in late 2024, they quit coal forever. They're quite windy there, so they use a lot of offshore wind generation, which is really interesting. Now, Brazil is not a country that you might expect to use a lot of green energy, but they're also very ahead in the green energy revolution. Officially 89% hydro, using the Amazon River to power the cities. That's interesting because the Amazon has the largest river discharge rate in the world. Canada has a bit of everything. A bit of coal, a bit of oil, a bit of hydro, a bit of nuclear. Canada is pretty diverse, and they're trending towards more renewable usage. But since the carbon tax got axed, we don't know what the status of that is. Now, France might be the most interesting. Why? Because they use mostly nuclear, and there's not a lot of countries that use mostly nuclear in the world, which is really. But the nuclear status in France might be in danger because of politics. Let's not go too deep into that. But one last interesting case study is a developing country, Pakistan. Pakistan might not be actually the most eco-friendly country in the world, and you might be right, but they're starting to get there because, well, everything is too expensive. People are installing solar panels imported from China in their backyard. It's just a testament to how even developing countries and countries who are less wealthy can have green energy as well. Finally, I want to talk about Russia. Russia is not the greatest example of green energy usage because they export a lot of oil and they use a lot of oil. And, they could really be doing better. However, Russia does have some hydropower as well. So that's interesting to mention. These are all the important world powers and how they use energy.
Okay, so we've seen the world struggling with its old habits. It's definitely time for an upgrade. But how do we actually catch the wind, harvest the sunburn, or grab power from tiny atoms and invisible hydrogen without it feeling like a mad scientist's project? I'm ready for Modern Energy 101, but make it cool enough to keep me away from checking my phone.
Now, first is solar. It works because photons from the sun hit electrons. Wow. And then these electrons force them to clock in for work. And then basically how solar panels work is that when the sun rays hit, it emits luminosity. And then the luminosity is better and more efficient when the solar panel is larger. So this is why we see very large solar farms in the world. And then it generates electricity from the movement of these electrons.
But wait, is it easy to just save that sun in a jar for the night?
Nope, storing energy is like a leaky bucket. You lose every bit of time you move it. But we're building giant batteries, specifically redox flow batteries with vanadium and iron. It's very hard to get into, but how redox batteries essentially work is that they store extra generated electricity over time. And when electricity isn't generated, for example, at nighttime, batteries used from those electricity is drained from those batteries. Then wind. These aren't windmills. Those are for bread. No. These are wind turbines. They look like they're moving snow, but the blade tips are actually sprinting at 180 miles per hour. And so when they're spinning, they generate kinetic energy to generate electricity.
So it's like an Olympic sprinter pretending to be a slow motion fan. Classic fake chill.
And hydrogen. Think of it as an electricity energy backpack. You don't mine it. You have to make it using electricity and water. It's for the heavy lifters, giant ships, and space rockets that are too big for regular batteries. Now, we have to talk about the heavyweight, nuclear. One tiny pellet has as much energy as a whole ton of coal.
But the glowing green slime? The three-eyed fish from the cartoons?
Yeah, that's total cartoon logic, but nuclear waste is a solid brick, not a soup, and certainly not COVID-19. And all of it, from the last 60 years, would fit onto one football field. We can probably just bury it into somewhere seismically safe, like under Finland.
So why is everyone talking about it again in 2025? I thought we were quitting.
Because of the AI power monster. Ooh. So every time you ask an AI to draw a cat dressed as a pirate, it uses about 10 times more electricity than a regular Google search. AI data centers are gobbling up all of our electricity. That's not an understatement. But we need to adapt to how this technology is changing, because as much as people do not like AI in some parts of the world, the technology is, unfortunately, for some people, here to stay. That's why Microsoft and Google are now buying nuclear plants. They need the power of the atom to run the brain of the future, or I guess, not really the brain of the future, the lazy homework generator of the future. And, don't forget about Iceland. Iceland's really unique because they're mostly using geothermal energy. You might not have heard of geothermal energy, but it's the energy that comes from hot water inside the earth. And since Iceland is seismically active, you bet there's a lot of geothermal energy there. In the future, we also have, don't forget, biomass. Biomass is basically burning of plants, and it's technically renewable if we plant more plants than we burn, but it's a bit hard to say. But also, there's tidal. Don't forget about tidal. Tidal was a movement of the waves go up and down, and that generates energy. It's really cool. You even have like a trained snake thing in the ocean that generates energy, but that is very specific.
Hi, Brian. How do you think cars move?
With electricity?
How do you think the electricity is made?
With metal. So the metal goes round and round until it gets too much heat, explodes into too much smoke that it gets into electricity.
Hey, Oliver, what do you think is the best source of energy in this world?
Dark energy.
Ooh, dark energy. What's dark energy, and how does it power our lights?
Invisible energy.
Wow, I honestly think he's talking about antimatter and has no idea how to say it. But, that's our 6-year-old. Wait, he's 7. I forgot. What's the plan? Well, the future isn't one winner. It's a team up for all of these forms of electricity. Solar and wind when the weather is nice, or not nice for hurricanes. Nuclear and hydro to keep the data centers alive 24/7. And whenever there isn't solar, there's probably hydro, so at least you got that, because they're inversely proportional, sun and rain, you get that. Hydrogen and fusion is for big rockets and ships. And speaking of fusion, the sci-fi stuff is coming too. Fusion is like building a star in a bottle, and space solar is like beaming sunlight from satellites. Maybe in the very future, we could even have a Dyson sphere. Imagine building solar panels around the sun. That will power everything, multitudes of magnitudes above what we have right now.
So, energy isn't just science.
It's geography and the choices we make every time we plug in our Wi-Fi toothbrushes.
Exactly. Mission complete. Martians, go enjoy those Christmas lights. And if you see a potato, don't try to charge your phone with that. That's not a good idea. Just make fries. Or eat it, I guess. That's probably better. Yeah. Peace out.
Seriously, the potato thing doesn't work. I tried.
Peace out.